Hello dear students, in chapter 3 entitled Ions, in the first session we're going to learn the following objectives. Explain why and how ions are formed. Distinguish between cations and anions. Write the formula of some monoatomic and polyatomic ions and name them. And finally, explain the formation of an ionic compound and write its formula unit. You need your pen and your chemistry booklet while watching this video. Many substances that we use in our daily life consist of ions, such as NaCl found in the table salt, potassium permanganate solution that is used to treat a variety of skin infections, and sodium bicarbonate that is used as an antacid. Tap water also contains certain minerals that are dissolved in it, such as Ca2+, Na+, K+, HCO3- and SO42-, and so on. As you can see that these ions, some of them are positively charged and the others are negatively charged. So, ions are electrically charged particles that can be either formed when an atom loses one or more electrons, therefore leading to a positively charged particle that we call cation, or when an atom gains one or more electron, forming a negatively charged particle that we call anion. Now consider the following two groups of ions. As you can see, these two groups are not classified according to cation or anion, because Group 1 contains positively charged particles and negatively charged ones, and Group 2 also contains positively charged particles and negatively charged ones. So these two groups are not classified according to the charge into cation or anion. So what is the criterion of classification of these ions? In fact, they are classified according to the number of atoms forming the ion. So here in the first group, you can see that these ions are formed only from one atom. For example, Cl- here, it's formed only from one Cl. N3-, it's formed only from one N. Here number 3 stands only for the charge, it's not for the number of atoms. Whereas, in the second group, we can see that these ions are formed from more than one atom. So the first one, it's formed, for example, from one nitrogen atom and 4 hydrogen atoms. So now you can see we have a total of 5 atoms in this ion. Let's see HO-, it's formed from one hydrogen and one oxygen. So here we also have more than one atom in this ion. Therefore, these groups are classified according to the number of atoms forming each ion. Where the first group is formed from one atom, it's called monoatomic ions, and the second group is formed from more than one atom and called polyatomic ions. Now let's examine the formula and names of some cations. Monoatomic cations include hydrogen ion H+, calcium ion Ca2+, ferrous ion Fe2+, ferric ion Fe3+, and aluminum ion Al3+. These ions are formed from one atom only, that's why they are classified as monoatomic cations. On the other hand, we will mention two polyatomic cations, ammonium ion NH4+, and hydronium ion H3O+. You can see that these ions, which are positively charged, so they are cations, they contain more than one atom in their formula, therefore they are polyatomic cations. Now, for the formula and names of some anions, we will mention in the monoatomic anions, fluoride ion F-, iodide ion I-, sulfide ion S2-, oxide ion O2-, and nitride ion N3-. For the polyatomic anions, we will mention hydroxide ion OH-, nitrate ion NO3-, sulfate ion SO4 2-, CO3 2-, that stands for carbonate ion, and PO4 3- for phosphate ion. But why ions are formed? In fact, monoatomic ion is generally formed for an atom to achieve its octet or DOIT rule. Let's take an example about sodium atom. Sodium atom, as you can see, it has one valence electron. This electron, it's a valence electron because it's the only one found on the outermost shell. Sodium atom is a metal, therefore it has the ability or tendency to lose this one electron in order to become stable and achieve its octet, forming sodium ion. So after sodium atom loses this one electron, it becomes a sodium ion Na+. On the other hand, let's take an example about the chlorine atom. Chlorine atom, if we count the valence electrons on the outermost shell, they are 7 valence electrons. Therefore, chlorine atom, because it is a non-metal, it has the tendency or the ability to gain one electron in order to become stable and achieve its octet, thus forming a chloride ion. Therefore, this chlorine atom gains one more electron, forming the chloride ion, which is Cl-. Please note that the atoms of some elements like copper or iron may produce different ions. So copper atoms, for example, they may lead to two different ions, Cu+ and Cu2+. And iron atom also, it may lead to Fe2+ and Fe3+. In this case, these ions, copper and iron, do not obey the octet rule. Let's write the equation of formation of an ion. Equation of formation of a cation, it is in the general form X gives Xn plus n electron, where n it is the number of electrons that is lost by the atom to form the cation. For example, aluminum atom loses 3 electrons to become aluminum ion. Here, aluminum has the symbol Al and it loses 3 electrons, therefore n is equal to 3. If we apply the formula here, the equation of ion formation for the cation, we replace X by Al and n by 3. Therefore, as a result, we will get Al gives Al3 plus 3 electrons. On the other hand, the equation of anion formation in a general form, it is Y plus an electron to give Yn minus. Now let's take an example about oxygen. Oxygen gains 2 electrons to become oxide ion. The symbol of oxygen, it is O, and here 2 it is N, the number of electrons that are gained. Therefore, if we apply these two in the general formula for the formation of the anion, we will get O plus 2 electrons giving O2 minus. How is sodium chloride formed? Formation of sodium chloride starts when a sodium atom Na loses 1 electron, and this electron is transferred for a chlorine atom in order to form the cation Na+ and the anion Cl-. Here, an anion is formed because the electron is gained by chlorine atom, whereas here a cation is formed because an electron is lost by sodium atom. The two ions Na+ and Cl-, they have opposite charges. Therefore, they will be attracted to each other because they are oppositely charged, forming an ionic bond. This compound formed by these two ions is called an ionic compound. So an ionic compound, it is a compound formed from two oppositely charged ions that are attracted together by electrostatic force called ionic bond. Now, how to represent an ionic compound? An ionic compound is represented by a formula unit. This formula unit can be found using crisscross method. Example 1. The formula unit of magnesium oxide. To find the formula unit of magnesium oxide, first we write the symbol of magnesium ion, which is Mg2+, the symbol of oxide ion, which is O2-. Then, because we have here same values for the charge, so if you look here, we have value which is 2 and here a value which is 2. They have the same value for the two charges if we take them as absolute value. Therefore, we cross these opposite charges to get the formula unit, which is MgO. This is the formula unit for magnesium oxide. In example 2, we should find the formula unit of aluminum sulfate. Similarly, we write the symbol of aluminum ion, it is Al3+. The symbol for sulfate ion, it is SO4 2-. However, here if we look, the absolute value for the charges, it's not the same. We have here 3, whereas here we have 2, so they are different. In this case, we use a crisscross method. So, number 3 here, it will be as a subscript for the second anion, and number 2 here, it will be as a subscript for the first cation. We cross plus and minus in the formula unit to get the formula of the aluminum sulfate. Don't forget that if we have a polyatomic ion like SO4 2-, we should place it in a parenthesis before writing the subscript, which is a 3. So here we write Al2, SO4, all of it in parenthesis 3. This is the formula unit for aluminum sulfate. To sum up, an ion can be either cation or anion. The cation is positively charged and it can be either monoatomic cation formed from one atom or polyatomic cation formed from more than one atom. Also, the anion, which is negatively charged, can be monoatomic formed from one atom or polyatomic formed from more than one atom. As an assignment, you have to solve exercise 1 and the extra application in worksheet 8 and then memorize the underlined ions. This PowerPoint is prepared by teacher Ghada Amhaz, recorded by teacher Zainab Yassin and supervised by teacher Hiba Badawi.